the story of her son's sale, the sale of her child, a young child. He was about 7, I think, 6 or 7 at the time. He was sold down south to Louisiana. So here, this is her story. She told the story to the grand jury. They issued a writ ordering his return. Then we have Solomon Gedney, who was a slaveholder and had originally been Pete's owner, slaveholder. His answer, and then finally the order that ordered that he be brought back here.
Yeah, that was so cool. The judge said that the son belongs with his mother.
Yes.
Period.
Period. And of course, the boy that was returned to her was not the boy who was taken away. Poor Tyke. I mean, for her to be shocked by his condition, and she, of course, was beaten. She was raped. She was assaulted in all the ways that enslaved black women were victimized. But for her to be shocked by his condition gives you a sense of how bad it was. His back was covered in scars, and he was so traumatized he didn't recognize his own mother's face. I mean, yeah. So then, I try to have everything sort of in historical order. Then I have, the 2 reports of the speech she gave to the 1851 Women's Rights Convention in Ohio. And as you probably know, there's 2 different versions. There's the popular version,
Yes.
which was put out by Frances Dana Gage, an abolitionist, and which has really colored people's view of Sojourner Truth, when in fact, these weren't her words at all. She did not speak with a Southern dialect. She spoke with a Dutch accent. Right. Dutch was spoken here right up until the Civil War. So that was her first language, and English second. So this is an earlier, this was published in 1863. This one, much closer to the time of the actual speech. So it's published in 1851, and this gives a much more accurate view of what she said. And her words are very powerful. They didn't need to be embellished.
Right.
Judge McGinty.
Hello.
Have some journalists here. I'm just walking them through the exhibit. So here it is. This courtroom is dedicated to surrogates court work. So it's probate, estates, wills, and the like. And of course, the very first document in our exhibit is a very common probate document, inventory of assets, which is required of all executors. And it's the one that impelled me to make this exhibit happen, because it lists human beings as assets. And it's not the only one that we have here like that at all. My secretary, I set her loose on the microfilm and said, just spend a couple of hours, see what you can come up with in terms of other inventories, and there are many. Because wealthy people have their estates probated, and wealthy people prior to 1828 owned human beings. That was kind of like a status symbol, I believe. So you own people, it's going to be in your estate, and they're going to be listed as assets, and very valuable ones. So that's where we started. Here we have the new documents recently discovered in Albany. They're not new, but this is the first time anybody's seeing them. When I forwarded them to Judge St. George and Judge Mendelson, I didn't put in my note, but I thought to myself, these are the first black people who have ever seen these documents. Ever. And of course, Sojourner couldn't read, so, she didn't read them. So, at that, and then we have the 2 versions of the Ain't I a Woman speech, the more accurate, earlier report, and then the later one engineered by Frances Gage, which imbued Sojourner with a thick Southern accent. All these dems and does, totally inaccurate. Of course, we're going to have, so as you know, Professor Painter has written extensively on that, and it's a really interesting question as to why it was easier to sell Sojourner with this voice, which wasn't her authentic voice. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
I think part of it is we Yankees don't like to believe it happened here. And so one of my missions in putting this together is believe it. It happened here. As a matter of fact, before the Revolutionary War, New York had the highest population of enslaved people in the 13 colonies. I mean, the Dutch were avid slavers. That's our history. Learning to accept it is a big job. So then this is the front piece from her narrative. Of course, I have one of her carte de visites that she sold to make an income. And then you can see another set of probate documents from Sojourner's estate in Michigan. When she died a woman of property, she was a hell of a saver. She really was. She gave away most of what she got, but she was determined to have a house for her family. And she bought the first one, I think, in Massachusetts, in Northampton. In Battle Creek, where she joined some friends from Ulster County in a utopian community, she had a house in town and a farm. So, circling back to my original point about the incredible role of our county clerk here in Ulster County preserving our history on paper, these documents were microfilmed in 1973 in Michigan. Michigan, when they microfilmed these documents in 1973, they shredded them.
The originals?
What?
Yes. Oh. Yeah. So this is here to honor the work of these extraordinary young people and Susan Harris, their Zita,
These ladies.
and these ladies, and
The artist.
the artist, Alishani Emmanuel. So they were behind the impetus to get Sojourner Truth Day named locally in our county, and they're on their way to getting it named, a day named for her in New York State, and it's all coming from this project.
Bravo.
How about that?